my pleasure to now start and announce the speaker for the last part of the days. And I have the pleasure to now give the floor. Marco, I think the people will come in. To our colleague from the Joint Research Center, Marco Serafini. Your Joint Research Center, who's helping us with many activities. But in particular for the hydrogen valleys, they have started to do a sustainability assessment of the hydrogen valleys, going through the different indicators. When we talk sustainability, of course, we talk about many indicators. This is an incipient work. We will have to continue working also with our valleys to see how to do that. But like I said, I think it's a good liaison, an introduction by Marco to our activities to come. So Marco, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take this.
This is.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you for letting me speak here. I'm Marco Serafini, and I work for the Joint Research Center. For who doesn't know, the Joint Research Center is the center that provides independent knowledge, scientific-based, for the EU policies. And we work on 3 different timelines by anticipating the state of art and the scientific underpinning for future policies. We help the policymaker in giving them the scientific background that they need to redact the policies. And then after the policies are published, we support them by monitoring and designing the KPI to evaluate them. In my team, we work on hydrogen, and we have several occasions to collaborate with the Clean Hydrogen Partnership. We created a multi-annual framework contract that work on different topics, from standardization and harmonization of methodologies to technology monitoring, and monitoring the sustainability and safety of the hydrogen technologies and advancement. Specifically, talking about sustainability, we started our collaboration in the recent years with the Clean Hydrogen Partnership by reviewing the LCA reports produced by the JU projects. And we collaborated with one of these projects, the SHE, by producing the LCSA guidebook that gives some instruction on how to perform life cycle assessment for hydrogen technologies. And then since last year, we helped launching the European Hydrogen Sustainability and Circularity Panel. But when we talk about sustainability, we usually think about environment, but sustainability is formed by 3 pillars. We also need to include the economic and the social pillar. And all these pillars need to be somehow monitored and studied. And for each of these pillars, a methodology was developed. We have the life cycle costing for the economic pillar, the LCA, life cycle assessment for the environment, and then the social life cycle assessment for the social aspect. These methodologies are necessary for evaluate the actual sustainability of a product or multiple processes. In this case, we can determine which process can improve and how can we, by reiterative studying, how can we improve our technologies. Or on the other side, we can use these methodologies to monitor, report, and finally communicate how we are performing in terms of sustainability. Specifically for the valleys and for the pillar of environment and social, we identified where the valley can actually have an impact. These are not exclusive, but are the major indicators. The climate change, of course, the use of finite resources, such as the water use, but also it could have a great impact on the use of fossil fuel by reducing their use, and the land use. On the social part, it could help creating jobs and improving the work conditions, health and safety, not only for the workers, but also for the community, energy security and resiliencies, and community engagement. Now, when I talk about LCA, here you can see a very simple scheme of how it's studied for a very simple system, just a system, an electrolyzer. You can see, the single process that leads to the production of, in this case, 1 kilo of hydrogen. This kilo of hydrogen is called functional unit in the LCA environment. Functional because it represents the actual purpose of the electrolyzer, and it is the reference unit that is used for each process. So how much renewable energy is needed for the electrolyzer to produce 1 kilo of hydrogen. And then the black border represents the system boundaries, or when is our system finished? What do we have to study? In this case, we've taken into account up until the distribution of hydrogen, but could have ended at the storing. And all these processes have an impact. Summing up all these impacts give us an idea of the sustainability of an electrolyzer. And in our work for the Clean Hydrogen Partnership, we did a review of the LCA published from the different projects. And we identify some area of improvements. So we noticed that there are not uniform guidelines that are followed by the projects. We noticed sometimes the absence of external review. There are some methodological drawbacks, limited inventories, and more in general, unfair comparison with other technologies. In our review, we noticed these areas for improvement, but we already started working together with the Clean Hydrogen Partnership to improve these parts. As I mentioned before, we created the panel that would help with the improvement of the methodology and the review. We released the LCA checklist. That is a tool used to harmonize the LCA methodology used across the hydrogen projects. And then we launched the hydrogen node on the lifecycle data network that is supposed to collect the data for inventories for all the hydrogen projects. And for who doesn't know, it's nice to look at it and possibly to join forces, because we need always more data, more reliable data. And then we moved to the valleys, and we noticed that it's not as simple as an LCA for an electrolyzer. So in this case, we took the Heaven project just as an example. We can see it's already more complex. There is a question of where to put the system boundaries. And going back to the functionality of the system that we are studying, it's not only to produce hydrogen, but the function of a valley. It could be the production of biofuel, could be providing mobility services, heat and energy. So which one should be the function that we have to choose, and what should we use as a reference? And then, since at the beginning I mentioned also the social pillar, what are the social impacts, direct social impacts of a valley? We did a literature review of the available LCA from hydrogen valleys, and we already noticed that the choice of functional unit is already not homogeneous. Sometimes it's a quantity of hydrogen consumed, sometimes it's the amount produced. And the system boundaries sometimes only envelop one end-use case, only one function. Sometimes they are just limited by geography. And sometimes only include up until the storage, not even including how this hydrogen is going to be used. And this miss the actual, the full point of a valley. Then we went to study the project that are funded by the GU. And we saw that out of the 16 projects that we analyzed, 3 already released some form of LCA, while 10 more are planning to do it in the future years. And outside of these projects, we know that many others are planning to do or are already doing their own LCA. What we believe at JRC is that creating specific guidelines for the hydrogen valleys will help to harmonize the results, harmonize the reports, and overall simplify the work for the valley themselves to make these studies. And of course, this matters for the environmental LCA, but also for the social LCA. Regarding the social, the methodology is still behind on a general level, not only regarding hydrogen. But at JRC, we started by performing a social hotspot analysis of the hydrogen delivery chain. And from that work, we produced a framework to be used for hydrogen technologies in general. In our future activities, we plan to use this framework for some case studies for the hydrogen, and also to produce more specific guidelines for the assessment of the impacts of the hydrogen valleys. The first step to do this is to identify some key indicators that can be the overarching indicators, such as the supply chain risk and the safety, and to identify the specific actors that work in a valley and their relative indicators. So we have the local communities, the workers, and the society. For this work, we are actually planning to do a workshop by the end of October, and this is why we are very grateful to have this slot, because we need to identify the experts on both sustainability and hydrogen valley, and we hope that you can share this invitation form to your network and to who you think could be interested. At the end of October, we will plan this workshop that is going to be mostly centered on the environmental aspect, and then and start the work on the social LCA, and eventually keep going with future work only centered on the social aspect. Thank you very much. And I leave the
Thank you very much, Marco, for your introduction into the life cycle analysis and why not sustainability of our valleys. I mean, we cannot only talk about financing of valley or of takers of valley, because in the end we have to also justify to the public, because we use public money, why we do what we do, and the fact that whatever we develop here is sustainable for a longer term. So we also have to address these issues. They may look a bit very, how can I say, scientifically, but that's the role of our colleagues in the Joint Research Center. And yeah, we really have to progress on that too.